Hello. Well, it is a beautiful day here in southeast Spain. I think it's probably safe now to say that spring has arrived. It's taken its time coming, which is quite unusual, and it's one of those ironies, I suppose, of global warming, or better to say, climate change, I think. But I don't know about you, but when you get some warm temperatures and it's lovely and sunny, I very often start to think about sparkling wine. Why not? Of course, we make cava here in Spain, but it's not just cava. We make lots of different sparkling wines. And in actual fact, all of those sparkling wines, the vast majority I should say, are made in what we know as the traditional method. Now, we're not really allowed to say the champagne method, but in this particular case I am. And the reason for that is this Chardonnay is made in Castilla, and it's made with the help, in fact the head winemaker there is French and in actual fact learned his trade in Champagne. So therefore I don't think it's too bad a thing to say this is the champagne method. It's not champagne, it's sparkling wine, and it comes, as I say, from very close, I suppose you could say, to the centre of Spain, where the temperatures can be very hot. Now, of course, if we're using the traditional grape varieties of Spain for sparkling wine, they're not going to love very high temperatures, but they can stand them. If, however, we're using Chardonnay, as we are in this case, and Pinot Noir, those grape varieties which do so well in making champagne, we don't really want that much heat. But we can get away with that with this particular bodega. It's Bodegas Balmoral, and the reason for that is because their highest vineyard is actually 1,050 metres above sea level. The variety here is Chardonnay, and the Chardonnay that makes up this super sparkling wine is actually placed at around 1,000 metres above sea level. And that's absolutely fabulous because it means we get a real diurnal change in temperature. The temperature normally in this part of Spain during the summer, where it's not quite so high, can reach 40 degrees. That's during the growing season, and that's pretty hot. But here we're managed, because we're at such altitude, to reach 30 degrees. That's hot as well, but not too hot. And of course there is a big difference between those 30 degrees of daytime and the degrees that we can get at night time, where we can have sometimes like a 15-degree drop, and that's great because it gives the vines a bit of a rest from the terrible heat. So what do we get out of that? Well, we get a certain freshness, and let's face it, everybody loves the freshness of sparkling wine, of course we do. But that's not just what this particular wine is about. Yes, it's celebratory, it's got that lovely freshness, a really refreshing acidity to it as well, but it's got some depth. Why has it got depth? Well, it's been, as we would say in Spain, en rima, in other words, upside down in its bottle after the fermentation, resting on its lees for a minimum of 24 months. Now, you might say, well, so what? Well, what happens is when it's resting on its leaves, it's actually gathering extra depth and complexity from those leaves. And so if we were talking about cava, we're not, of course, but if we were talking about cava, for it to have 24 months on its leaves, that's equivalent to a long-age reserva, where you have to have a minimum of 15 months, so it's even longer than that. And in fact, it's not that far off the 30 months that you need for a Gran Reserva cava. It's made with Chardonnay, hand-picked Chardonnay, but something that's quite interesting that comes out of this, you do get a little bit of patisserie notes. Well, you would do, because it's a sparkling wine, and these are the aromas that you get from autolysis. But also, we get here a little bit of citric, a little bit of apple, but also this, only I think 3% of the wine has been aged beforehand in some oak, some French oak. And you can pick that out with just a tiny amount of caramel on the nose. Don't get me wrong, it's brut, it's dry, so we're not talking sweetness of toffee, it's just that little aroma that comes through from the oak. I think it's close to a spectacular wine. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to presenting it tomorrow at one of the tastings I do over here in Spain. So, Bodegas Balmoral, it's called Chardonnay, and it is the Cuvee de Maria. I would look for it if I were you.